This bringing our senior White House correspondent, Mary Bruce, our military analyst, retired Colonel Steve Gannett. And Mary, let me begin with you. The president's aid request to Congress, $33 billion in aid, reaching back to a World War II law.
Yeah, George, look, the president himself openly admits this is a lot of money, but he says this is what it is going to take to keep up the fight to save Ukraine, those $33 billion over the next 5 months. It includes over $20 billion in new government military assistance, $8.5 billion in economic assistance just to help the government keep up basic services, and $3 billion in humanitarian aid. The president says this is needed right now, that the previous funds have run dry, but it could take the Congress a couple of weeks to actually get this done. The good news for this White House is that right now both sides of the aisle up on Capitol Hill seem to back this and will be in support of this funding. Now, in the meantime, though, of course, the Kremlin continues to accuse the U.S. and NATO of fighting a proxy war with Russia. They are promising a, quote, lightning-fast response to any country that intervenes in Ukraine. I did ask the president yesterday if this ratcheted up rhetoric concerns him, and George, he told me that the U.S. is prepared for whatever Russia may do.
Well, let's bring that to Steve Gannett, our military analyst. You heard these accusations from Russia of a proxy war. Does this reinforce those accusations?
Yeah, George, I think Russia actually has a point on the proxy war. So we've seen this week another $33 billion committed. The Secretary of Defense has said we want to weaken Russia. We have the NSC saying that we intend to make this a strategic defeat. And so this is enough of an argument for Putin to go back to the Russian people and say, see, I told you, it's us against the West. That fans the fires of self-righteous indignation, and it buys Putin months more of domestic political support for the war.
We have also seen in recent days, Steve, Ukrainians striking targets in Russia.
Yeah, the Ukrainians certainly have the right to hit behind Russian lines to prevent the Russians from conducting the war in Ukraine. But by that same logic, George, Russia again has said that they have the right to attack NATO countries and NATO resupplies coming into Ukraine. And remember, if that happens, if Russia attacks a NATO member, it will invoke an Article 5, and this becomes a much more dangerous, very different kind of war that could involve direct confrontation between the U.S. and Russia.
Finally, Mary, we heard Ian Panel say this conflict could go on now for years. Should we expect more requests from President Biden?
I think it is safe to say that you are going to see more requests from the president. There have been a lot of questions about whether they can keep up this pace of funding, given how many billions of dollars the U.S. has already spent just over the last few months. But the president says that this is money that has to be spent in order to save Ukraine, that this is necessary. And so far, we do see Washington backing these requests. But no question, no doubt, George, this is a lot of money being spent in not a lot of time.
Mary Bruce, Steve Gannett, thanks very much.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.